Hi there. In this video, I'll be looking at the Terraforming Mars expansion Venus Next, and specifically its corporations. I'll go through a little SWOT chart, and if you don't know what that is or my interpretation of one, take a look at my base game corporations video where I go a little bit of an explanation there. I'm also going to give an overall strategy I find for the corporation, some fun cards that go with it, not necessarily the best ones, but maybe some fun strategies you might want to try, and then I give an overall ranking. Again, this is for Venus Next. Thank you for watching this video. If you have a comment, leave it below. I'd love to hear your opinion. All right, Aphrodite. First off, you start with 47 ME and 1 plant production, and whenever Venus is terraformed 1 step, you gain 2 ME. You also get a Venus and a plant tag. What's helpful internally for this corporation is an okay start. 47 in a plant production is okay. That plant production is not going to pay off for a long while. What's harmful internally for this corporation, Venus is really yay or nay. People usually tend to go for Venus or they don't. And if they don't, then this corporation is in a very bad spot. What's helpful externally for this corporation is that world government terraformer, if it's used, and it probably should be, when it comes to playing with this expansion, can really help this corporation because people I find tend to use this, the world government terraformer that is, for the Venus track rather than any of the other global requirements. What's harmful externally for this corporation is no one usually terraforms Venus, and then if you do, you get in a bad spot. Again, it's really dependent on the game, who you're playing with, the cards that they have, what corporations they are as well. A fun strategy for this corporation, and the best strategy I find, is to try and make Venus viable early, and try to get it so that people, take those Venus percentage cards that have requirements and are good that are later in the game, so that they continually boost that up so you get that money benefit. Fun combos with this are random Venus cards, such as Venusian animals. I like this card, it's great. The problem is that I've only seen it work very few times. It's really good if you can get a bunch of science cards to play with it afterwards, but by the time it hits 18% Venus, usually there's not any science cards left. And if you've played this card, nobody's passing you science tags, typically. But what you can do with this though is, play events that add animals onto this, or you can play events. Oh, sorry, I just said events. You can play buildings that do animal cards onto this, or what you can do is hopefully get the prelude that lets you play a card ignoring global requirements, and that would be best for this. Player count, more is better. You want more people to obviously boost Venus as well. And the overall ranking for this one, unfortunately for me, is an F. Alright, next is Celestic. You start with 42 ME, and as your first action, reveal cards from the deck until you've revealed 2 cards with a floater icon on it. Take those 2 cards into hand and discard the rest. 1 victory point per 3 floaters on this card. Its action is also add a floater to any card, and you have a Venus tag. What's helpful internally for this corporation, you can add a floater anywhere. That can be very useful, especially if you get the right cards that go with it. What's harmful internally, though, is that you don't want to use this corporation for its victory points. 3 for 1 is a very bad deal. And you can also get really bad floater card draw off this, either with something that has too high of a global requirement, or something that is just an event that adds, or, it just doesn't do anything for you at the beginning of the game. What's helpful externally for this corporation is that you can get floater cards passed to you, and the colonies floater cards are amazing in comparison to some of the Venus ones. And there are some really good Venus cards as well that have floaters on them. But what you can also do is go for that floater milestone, which is a very, I think, easy thing to do with this corporation. What's harmful externally for this corporation, though, is that people will hate draft you typically. I've played games with this where just to test this out, and you don't even see another floater card for 3 or 4 generations in a 4 or 5 player game. And what's also harmful externally is that maybe nobody's doing Venus either, so you can't play some of the cards that maybe you would want to kind of go with this. The strategy for this is find good floater victory point cards and good floater production cards, especially at the beginning of the game. Those production ones are good. You can do ones with energy, or you can do ones with mega credit production, etc. Fun combos with this are cool floater cards like Titan Shuttles. A lot of the Jovian colonies expansion floater cards are awesome, and you can do really well with them. Player count, less is more. You kind of want to go to the end game with this when you're adding stuff and resources to cards. And overall ranking, I'd say for this one's a D. You can get a really good start with this and maybe get an even better ranking than this. But I'd say overall, it's a D. All right, next up we have Manutech. So Manutech starts with 1 steel production and 35 ME. Its effect is for each step you increase the production of a resource, including this, you also gain that resource. So basically you get everything a turn early, which is awesome. It also has a building tag. What's helpful internally for this corporation, it has an amazing ability. Being able to play a card and immediately get the resource from the production is very, very good. Harmful internally, though, is that it has kind of a slow start. 35 ME is not a whole lot, and it's very difficult if you don't get the good production cards to go with this. Helpful external is a production a turn early with cards can be, again, very beneficial. You can combo off, you can spend resources, immediately get the production resources and spend those, and then continually do that over and over and over again. What's harmful externally, though, is that it's hate draftable. You can play this corporation and just not see any good production cards. Overall strategy for this corporation, I find, is go production and then go big with it. So, for example, things like Strip Mine that use minus energy and then plus some production cards. So, you get -2 energy production, but you also get steel, titanium, and you immediately get that, which you can also spend. And there's a bunch of different cards that do this. Some do heat, some do energy, etc., etc., etc. Player count, less is typically more. You don't want to have kind of somebody ending the game super quick. You kind of want to go for the end game and try and get that production, use your corporation's ability to the best of its ability. Overall ranking for this one's an S, I find. It's very, very good. I think this could really be an A, though. It really depends, I think, on your starting cards. But overall, it has the potential to be very, very, very good. Okay, next up we have Morningstar Inc. You start with 50 ME, and as your first action, reveal cards from the deck until you have revealed 3 Venus tag cards. Take those cards into hand and discard the rest. Its effect is your Venus requirements are +2, -2 steps, your choice in each case, and you have a Venus tag. What's helpful internally for this corporation is $50 is a good starting amount of money to have. It's very healthy. Harmful internally, though, is you can get some really bad draws off of some of these Venus tag draws through the deck. And the ability of just the +2, -2 is pretty poor, especially if you're the only one who's actually building up Venus. What's helpful externally for this corporation is that you can fund the Venus award very early and hopefully kind of go for that. You're getting at least 3 in your hand, and 1 on the board, I guess, and 3 in your hand right at the beginning of the game, which is good. You could get events, though, which mitigates this. Harmful externally, though, is that no one could terraform Venus, and then you're stuck in a really bad spot. You just have 3 cards in your hand that you can't even play. What's good for strategy-wise for this corporation is that it can be variable. You can kind of go Venus, but you can also do other things at the same time. You can go microbes, you can go floaters, etc., etc. You can go animals. Fun combos with this are fun Venus cards, so things like sulfur-eating bacteria, Venusian insects, those sorts of things. There's a bunch of interesting Venus cards that kind of aren't maybe as mainline as you think, but this one's a kind of a cool card to play with. Player count, more is better. You want to, get more cards, see more cards. You want your ability to up Venus and minus Venus at a whim to be used to its full effect, so you can take cards earlier and play them earlier. Unfortunately, though, my overall ranking for this one's an F. I find that it's very bad. It really just does not work out. Okay, next up we have Viron. Viron starts with 48 ME, and its action is you can use a blue card action that has already been used this generation, so you can do something twice, and you have a microbe tag. What's helpful internally is that this is an amazing ability. Being able to do something twice is extremely strong. What's harmful internally, though, is that you can get some really bad draws. It really is based on your starting hand. Those cards that you see at the beginning, if you have a good blue one that goes with this, then this corporation can be awesome. What's helpful externally for this corporation is that there's lots of victory points that you can get on cards by doing this, either through animals, doing them twice. So there's a bunch of different animal cards that, are 1 victory point per animal. You can even do this with cards like floaters, etc., etc. Harmful externally, though, is that you can get hate drafted. People will see that you're trying to go for these big blue cards and then, take them from you and then just not even play them or buy them. Strategy-wise, you want to go big blue. You want to go for those very strong victory point blue cards, such as animals or asteroids, in certain circumstances. Fun combos are, again, maybe trying for non-victory point cards, maybe some production stuff, doing things twice, or maybe a resource-based card that does this. So you can get something that, adds, so you can get titanium or et cetera, et cetera. There's a bunch of things that do that. Asteroid Deflection System is kind of a cool card that would go well with this. Again, not so much using its ability twice because its ability is bad, but using other asteroid cards to put asteroids on this so you get 1 victory point per asteroid. The player count, less is better. You kind of want to go to the end game for this one. And my overall ranking for this is an A. Alright, that was all of my reviews for each of the different corporations in Venus Next. If you think I got something wrong, leave a comment below. Leave a like. I'd love to hear your opinions. My next video is to hopefully go next to Prelude corporations, and then Colonies corporations, Turmoil corporations, and Promo corporations to kind of do the same thing. Go through the SWOT chart, give a little bit of strategy. Yeah, this is kind of just a fun project of mine. Again, if you'd have any opinions on this, please leave a comment below. Thank you.